Yeah, unseasonably warm here in this part of a high. So guess what we're going to talk about today, guys? We're going to compare the Meteor 350 to the Classic 350. Stay tuned. Man, I love this heel toe shifter. What's up, riders? Old Man Ronin here, and welcome back to the channel. Well, guys, we're going to be doing a comparison between the Meteor 350, which we're riding right now, and the Classic 350. And you guys know that last month I was down in Savannah, Georgia, with a bunch of other YouTubers and Instagram influencers, and we were able to ride the motorcycle, and basically for the reveal for North America. And I'll tell you what, I had an absolute blast, and I want to once again thank Bree Poland and the crew at Royal Enfield North America for treating us like kings, actually, and queens. We really did enjoy that trip, and I got a chance to meet some great people. But the most important part was actually riding the Classic 350, so that way I could give you a comparison between the two.
Back in the studio, I decided to go directly to the Royal Enfield website and get some key difference numbers. I know you numbers guys love this. And the basic number differences are, number one, the wheelbase is 55.12 inches on the Meteor 350, whereas the width of it is 33.3 inches. The height is 44.88 inches. Curb weight, 421 pounds. Fuel capacity, 3.96 gallons. And of course, the rear wheel is 140 by 70 by 17. And of course, the seat height is 30.12 inches. Now for the Classic 350, the key differences was wheelbase 54.7 inches, width 30.9 inches, height 42.91 inches, curb weight 430 pounds, fuel capacity 3.43 gallons, and the rear wheel was 120 by 80 by 18. And of course, the seat height was 31.69 inches. In a nutshell, the differences are obvious. One's a standard, the Classic 350, the other is a cruiser. And just by looking at them, you can tell exactly how you're going to be comfortable. Meteor, both of them are great on long rides. A Meteor would be a little bit more comfortable in my humble opinion. Now back to the video.
Tell you what, the thing's got a little pep. I mean, just like the Meteor, this engine is the same. The seating stance is a lot different, meaning the fact that it is more upright. I could probably stand up on this bike. I don't think I'm going to, because I don't know if they might frown on that, if you know what I mean. Yeah, the Classic 350 is more of an upright. It's got the mid controls as opposed to the I would call them forward mids. It's not like a Harley where your feet are really out there, but it is more of a mid forward, which gives me a more laid back stature on the Meteor, whereas I'm more upright on the Classic, and that's one of the biggest differences. Now, which do I prefer? Well, I'll tell you what, it's a very difficult thing to answer, because sometimes when I want to really get aggressive into the corners and stuff like that, then I would prefer to have mid controls. That way I can kind of squeeze down on the tank a little bit better. You know, kind of like what the Continental GT does, as far as giving you, you know, leaning forward and being able to maintain a more tighter triangle in your rider profile. That way you can actually control the bike a little bit better. A cruiser with the more relaxed is basically that, relaxed. You're not trying to jump all over these corners. You know, you can, but that's just not what it's made for. It's made for crushing miles. Oh, there's puppies. It's made for crushing miles, and I think that's the big thing, the biggest difference between the Classic and the oh, there's a kitty cat. Man, animals are out today. The big difference between the Classic and the Meteor 350 is the fact that they literally, one is made for everyday riding, and it's more like and I like to call it a retro standard, because you know, some of the motorcycle, actually most of the motorcycles you're going to buy on the market, unless they're qualified as an ADV bike or a cruiser or a sport bike, see what I mean? Kitty cats. are going to be more of a standard, where you're going to sit more upright on top of it with your feet directly underneath your I don't want to say underneath your waist, but more underneath your mid thighs. That's going to give you the ability to stand up if you need to over a bump. Now you can do it here on the forwards, but I'm telling you, I don't really like to do it on forward controls. The only reason I can do it here on this bike is because they're kind of more mid forward, but it does give me more of a relax. So if you're looking for a relaxed ride, then the rider triangle of the Meteor is going to be better for you. If you want something that's going to handle the corners a little bit better and give you more control, and I hate to use that term, but in reality that's what it is, then of course the Classic 350 will be a better choice for you in that realm. So, which is it? Win Meteor? Win Classic? Tie! We'll catch him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, now you get to see what I'm doing.
I was planning that. Here we go, guys. It does have good acceleration. Yeah, I love this bike. It's just smooth. Again, you all know I like to do that. I do like this motorcycle, man, I'm telling you. Here's 60. There's 65. Easy peasy, baby. I think this J Series engine is the best single-cylinder engine I've ever ridden. I really love it. And I'll tell you what, guys they've had some issues I've heard. Now, I've never had any on the Himalayan about hard starting. These do not. I'm telling you. In fact, the joke was, or not the joke, but the true story is, during the heart of winter this year, I went out to start my motorcycles when it was like 9 degrees below zero, and I know you shouldn't in that kind of thing, but of all the motorcycles we have in the stable, of the Harleys, and of course both the Himalayan and the Meteor, man, the Meteor fired up, boom, no issue whatsoever. The Himalayan started too. I'm not saying you had to use that little fuel advancer there to get it to go, but the reality of it is it started without any issue at all, and that is a huge thing. This bugger here, I'm telling you, man, you just hit the button and she goes, and that is huge for me. And the fact that it's virtually vibration free, considering it's a single cylinder, and everybody that's ever ridden a lot of motorcycles know that both V-twins and single cylinders notoriously vibrate. Not like a BMW, you know, the Parallel, the Boxer. That'll, when you start those things up, you go jump. It'll give you a little jump, which is okay. That's what they do. Whereas the Harleys will give you the potato. This thing here gives you bop, 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 bop. And man, there's virtually no vibration. Whatever they did to counterbalance this engine, they did it perfectly. And one of the things I like a lot too is the transmission. It's smooth, but yet tactile enough to give the old boys like me who ride by the seat of our pants the ability to not even look down at the tack or whatever. And of course, a lot of these motorcycles like the Classic does not have a tack, and neither does the Meteor. But again, I don't really use a tachometer. I don't have any, and well, I take that back. I do have it in the Sportster, but the reality of it is I don't really use it. I ride by and shift basically how it feels in my butt. What? Like I say, riding by the seat of your pants, and that's how I ride. And between the two, as far as the Classic and the Meteor 350, tied once again, because it's the same engine and the same transmission. And again, because it's really smooth, vibration free. I wouldn't say vibration free, but yet enough tactile feeling that you can tell you're on a cool motorcycle. You know, not like one of those electric motorcycles where you don't feel anything. It's basically just smooth, but yet a little tactile, and especially the transmission. But again, that's what makes this J Series engine such a great engine. And again, I really would love to see them take a bigger variation of this and put it in the Himalayan. I don't think they're going to do it, but I think they're coming out with something completely different. But I'll tell you what, if I had my pick, that's what I would pick. Let's go handling. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, handling, I really love the way this Meteor handles, and you guys have been watching as I've been talking how we've been going around these corners. This thing handles like a dream. I mean, you know, it really does. I'm doing like 50 miles an hour here, virtually no issue whatsoever on these backcountry roads, and it just does everything I ask it to do as far as handling, yet smooth as silk. Now the Classic, it does the same thing. However, I did notice one thing. In the Classic, it doesn't have the smoothness that the Meteor 350 does. In other words, is it as smooth as the Meteor? I would say, in handling purposes, I would say yes. I fooled you there for a second, didn't I? I would say the Classic 350 actually handles the corners a little bit better. Now, we didn't get a lot of opportunity to get into corners on the trip to Savannah, but I'm guessing just basically the way that the frame is set up in the rake and the trail, and the fact that it's got a little bit different wheelbase. A longer wheelbase usually means a smoother straight line ride cruiser, whereas a shorter wheelbase usually means a better handling motorcycle. The same thing with rake and trail. And if you've got those two components, you can tell basically without even jumping on the bike which is going to handle a little bit better. The one with the shorter wheelbase and the one with a little bit less rake and trail. That's how you tell, guys. So if you're a numbers freak and you want to get a general idea how a bike's going to handle before ever getting on one, look at the rake and trail and look at the wheelbase. And the fact that the tire in the back of the Classic is a little bit bigger than the tire here. This tire on the Meteor is a little wider. Again, straight line performance, cruiser style versus standard, and that's going to give you a little bit better handling. Now, I mean, it's going to be minuscule. It's going to be minuscule. So, in the battle of handling, where does it go? This is going to be a funny one. It's going to be based on personal preference, guys. If you want a bike that's going to handle the corners just a tad bit better, the Classic 350. If you want a motorcycle that's going to cruise and get down the highway and really smooth and silk, the Meteor 350. So what are we going to rate it as? Tie number 3. I'll tell you what, that's really what it's all about. These motorcycles, it basically boils down to your personal preference. Well, let's go to the fit and finish and looks. Yeah, I know. This is the same thing. Basically, if you want a motorcycle that looks retro 40s, right out of World War II, that's just hipster cool, then of course, the Classic 350 is the bike that you want. If you want a bike that looks just awesome, that has a cruiser style, then of course the Meteor 350 is what you like. I love the Meteor 350. I mean, but again, I've got several thousand miles on this bike, and it's one of the reasons why I'm able to do a review. I wish I was able to have 1,000 miles on the Classic 350. Who knows what the future holds, but the reality of it is I would love to take one and do a long-term ride like I had with this. You know, we had this bike 6 months before we actually owned it, so that would be ideal, but probably never going to happen. But the reality of it is 1,000 miles is the only way that I'll do a review. I'll do a first impressions, and it kind of brings me to a point where I have to argue and throw shade at every other YouTuber on the market that puts out a review on a motorcycle that they haven't ridden more or less than 1,000 miles. And the reason why that is, and it's going to be a point of contention, I know. You're going to have some guys out there and argue with me. But the reality of it is, you don't know how the motorcycle behaves unless you've been on it for a while. For example, the seats. They don't really break down until you have a lot of miles on the bike. Your butt in the saddle is what determines that. See, do you need a touring seat right away? You don't know. Not until you've ridden it a while. Maybe you don't need to spend money on a touring seat. Do you need to upgrade the suspension? I don't know. Not until you've been riding it a while. All these factors boil into one of the reasons why I don't do reviews on motorcycles less than 1,000 miles. And be honest with you, your perception changes. Maybe you get the motorcycle and say, well, you know, it's kind of cool. Or you get that, you know, we call it the teenage crush, where it's a brand new motorcycle, you've never had it before, you bought it because you like the way it looks, you know, like your first girlfriend or boyfriend, you like the way it looks, and you think, man, turn up my turn signal, but you think, man, this is going to be ideal for me. And then later on you find out that the guy or the girl's a piece of crap. That's why you cannot do a review on a motorcycle unless you have some time in the saddle. I know, I don't know if that was a harsh way to explain it, but to be honest with you, I think that's the only way you can explain it, because it really does mean you need time. So Old Man Ronin never does a review. Now, first impressions, yes, I'll tell you exactly how I feel about it right after I get in it. And part of that is that first girlfriend or first boyfriend feel that you get. Man, it's pretty cool. Like the Classic 350. I wasn't going to do a first impressions on it until I had 50 miles, because that gives me an opportunity to see how I ride with it. And we, you know, when we were down there in Savannah, we had the opportunity to ride it quite a bit, and that quite a bit equals in miles, and miles equals in time, and time equals in experience, and experience equals in an opinion to a limit. Now, like I said, the reason why I'd like to do it for a long term, I did notice, particularly at slow speeds, and of course I wasn't able to adjust the suspension, but there were places, for example, down at Wormslow, and you're seeing right here, that you could hear in my voice, where the suspension was a little bit too taut for my big butt, and I needed to have it set just a little bit softer, so I wasn't getting that quick rebound. I needed it to back down a little bit and be a little softer. So in that case, that's something that I would have done on my own if I had the motorcycle for a while, but I wasn't able to do that. That actually affects your first impression or your review. If you just jump on a bike the way that the factory's got it set up and it's not set up properly for you, you have no idea. No idea. So, as far as getting back to my original point, the looks, the fit and finish, all boils down to your personal preference. So what we're going to give this again, between the Meteor 350 and the Classic 350, tie! I'll tell you what, guys, I've been overly blessed on this YouTube channel. We're growing fast. We're right over 14,000 subscribers now, or at the time of my filming we were almost there, so I'm hoping by the time you see this it will be over that, so I'm not telling you a fib. But I'm hoping that you guys will continue to support the channel. And have you noticed that? That's right, guys, we are in the middle of the May Maxx Eyewear sunglass giveaway. And that means if you guys noticed what time little Ronin went by there, you put it down in the comments. Of course, you have to be a subscriber, but put it down in the comments what time he went by, and send me an email. That way we can get a hold of you in case you become the winner. And we're going to send you a nice little pair of sunglasses from Maxx Eyewear. And we're just totally honored to have these guys back with us again. It's one of the things that I really do appreciate about this company, is they're willing to work with us. And we're going to be giving away sunglasses here all throughout the month of May, all throughout the month of July, and all again through the month of September, which is going to give you guys the opportunity to win some really cool stuff from Old Man Ronin. So when you come down to the final thoughts on between the Meteor 350 and of course the Classic 350, what does it boil down to? Literally a personal preference. And this is why by the time this video comes out, I want each and every one of you to get to your local dealer and test ride both of them. See which one gives you the best feel right away. And that's going to determine which one you want to buy. Now, I know a lot of guys buy motorcycles based on looks, and that's cool, because you know, if you don't like the way your bike looks, you ain't going to ride it, or you shouldn't have bought it. But you also have to make it match your riding style. For me, the Meteor 350 matches perfectly, except that the Classic 350 does too. So we're going to give the Meteor 350 and the Classic 350 a classic tie. We're not going to say one's better than the other, because each one is slightly different. They do have similarities, like the engine and the tranny, but the riding stance is different. The handling is slightly different, the suspension is slightly different, and of course you guys saw the differences in the specs that I put earlier. So you have to actually ride them and see which one fits you better. Don't listen to any YouTuber out there tell you which bike to buy based upon their opinion, because yours is the only one that matters. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this video today, guys. If you did, make sure you give us a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification button, share and comment. You know I read all the comments and comment on as many as I possibly can. Until next time, guys, ride safe and keep her on two wheels, baby.